Hi, this is Rachel in Recover. We're back with a special guest. She's going to tell us a little bit about herself. She's a nutritionist, and her name is Kristi. Tell us some things about yourself.
Thanks, Rachel, and very nice to be here with you today. Like you said, I'm Kristi, and I am a registered dietitian nutritionist, and I practice out of Phoenix, Arizona, in the hot desert. And I've been practicing as a dietitian now for about 12 years, and mostly within the field of public health and public health nutrition, as well as worksite wellness I've focused on. But I'm currently practicing out of the local health department here in Phoenix, Arizona, as well as working on my own private practice.
Okay. What got you into nutrition?
Yeah, that's a really good question, Rachel. So what got me into nutrition is more of a personal journey. And it goes way back to childhood, to be honest, but where it started like kind of getting into my head and focusing on health and nutrition was in my high school years. Because before I started, this focus, or before I got into it, I was eating in a way that was not nourishing to my body or brain. For example, Mountain Dew was my breakfast, and a Rice Krispie bar was my breakfast, and I, didn't associate the two. Like, well, then why am I not feeling good, later on in the day, or why do I not have a lot of energy, or why, do my moods maybe go up and down, or do I feel, hangry, as they say, which I didn't have a word for it back then. But nonetheless, I got into just reading, reading. And it was just at that same time where I, was getting really into it, that I also was going to college, and I didn't know necessarily what I wanted to major in. So I'm like, this has become a passion for mine. Let me take this route. And then, the rest is history. And it finally led me to where I am today.
Okay. What do you do as a registered dietitian with nutrition, as dietitian nutritionist?
Sure.
It
is a tongue twister, and I'm sorry that it's kind of, I guess, tongue twisting, if you will. But what do I do? So I do a lot of things, but kind of like, just sum it up, my primary focus is on working with other dietitians and other nutritionists to support the development and implementation of trauma-informed care within, nutrition practices, within nutrition programs, and incorporating them into like larger healthcare organizations like hospitals. For example, have you heard of SNAP, Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program? Yeah. So, or, for our audience, formerly known as the food stamps program. But I work with SNAP Ed agencies and WIC agencies, school wellness programs, and even like nutrition pantry programs. Again, to help, bring awareness to the role of trauma, adversity, and how that can impact health and health outcomes. But again, also, now that we, the people might have that awareness, it's like, what do we do with it? So I help facilitate the process and kind of help deliver the how on how we can start incorporating some of these trauma-informed best practices into, again, just the field of nutrition.
Okay.
Yeah, and I was going to say, sorry, also along that line too, I also do, like I mentioned earlier, work with worksite wellness programs, and with that worksite wellness, just learning or helping people address like employee like burnout or fatigue, and just fostering a resilient organization that can help support people through tough times, but also through challenging events that we've been facing as a society as a whole.
That's true. It's been a rough time to try to buy food right now.
Absolutely, it is.
gas prices have also gone up exponentially, so that
So
doesn't help.
much. But yeah, no, you make a really good point. I was actually just watching the news tonight or last night, and they were just highlighting food banks in our area and just how much the demand has increased to where food banks are now having to purchase their own food because they're running out of food. So it is definitely challenging times for most of us, and food is definitely part of that problem. So
well, gas prices are starting to come down, so hopefully it won't be this big of an issue for this long.
I couldn't agree more.
Okay. What got you working with people with trauma? How did you?
Yeah, so that's another good question. So what got me into it? It was just, by chance, if I can say that. It's I started working at the health department again, like 12 years ago, and that's when the idea, have you heard of ACEs, Adverse Childhood Experiences?
Yes.
Okay, and like ACEs, but also positive childhood experiences. So I started learning about that research and the role of trauma, not only in nutrition, but just health in general. Again, I'm surrounded by so many different professions in the health department. So just hearing these different perspectives and how these ACEs, how these positive also experiences can influence health later on was really impactful to what got me into just diving deeper into the research, as well as making it a life passion to be able to help people, with similar, having my own, past experiences with adversity and trauma. So helping others who, get through what I've experienced, and also working, how do I say, a lot of my work too at the health department, is in communities that are less represented, may have a lack of access to nutritious foods or healthcare needs, might be, work in communities with higher levels of violence. So that kind of, went, kind of supported what I was reading in the research and reading about ACEs, but just witnessing it firsthand and just seeing, nutrition, and it wasn't always a priority. Health isn't always a priority when you have other situations and stressors in your life. But also just learning how these stressors in the community actually can invoke or lead to, they can be traumatic experiences for many people. So it was what got me into it was just being surrounded by these ideas in the health department, and then also working in the community and witnessing some of this stuff firsthand.
Okay. What are some adverse and trauma? In some ways, adversity and trauma impact food and eating behaviors. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, so adversity and trauma, it can lead to, a variety of different behaviors, health behaviors, including those that are dietary related. Adversity, and trauma can lead to disordered eating patterns, for example, such as, yo-yo dieting or preoccupation with food or binge eating or even, restricting food. Food is, in those cases, can be used as a coping mechanism, can be used as a way to just self-soothe, if you will, and to cope, with struggles and that trauma. Further, like we were just talking about with, hunger, food insecurity, those experiences can lead to, feast or famine mindset later in life. So the idea that, like, when food is available, eating as much as possible because it's kind of been ingrained in your body and your brain that, might not know, not knowing where your next meal might come from. That might have been a childhood experience that then is ingrained within you, so that leads to those behaviors. Also, just trauma can really, it inhibits our bodies and our brains, but it can take our thinking brain offline, right? So we can get into this survival mode to where we're not able to really access the part of the brain to fully engage in these higher level cognitive activities that are required, with so many different, food behaviors like meal planning, budgeting, food preparation, planning, et cetera, like when we are under a trauma or when we're experiencing that adversity, sometimes we can't access that part of our brain that is needed to really carry out these healthy behaviors. And I'm thinking, also too, when it comes to trauma, a common symptom is dissociation. So when we're, not really tuning into our bodies, and for years not tuning into our bodies, we may not really fully recognize hunger cues or, fullness cues or even like thirst cues. So, when we're not able to recognize when we're hungry or full, that can like lead to overeating or undereating, for example. And then of course, trauma and, ACEs, adversity has been highly associated, with many diet-related outcomes later in life, such as like heart disease, diabetes, kidney disease, for example, which, traditionally the focus is then just to treat, provide, the right nutrition, right food to help treat that. But that really ignores some of the, foundational like root causes of some of those food behaviors, to where it really takes a trauma-informed approach to really dig deeper into, the whys, why we eat the way we do, or why we eat the foods that we do.
Okay. What is considered a balanced approach to nutrition?
Yeah, so I get asked that a lot, and really it comes down to just eating a variety of, nutritious foods. There's the food, fruits, vegetables, whole grains, protein foods, healthy fats, for example. It's enjoying a variety of nutritious foods, but also, eating the foods that you really enjoy. So I don't ever recommend cutting out any type of food, like especially if those foods are the ones that you truly enjoy. Like for me, I like sweets. So rather than restrict or, cut them out, include those, in moderation. But just, I advise people to not restrict, to not necessarily cut out the foods that they enjoy, and just, find patterns that can be sustained, right? So, what a diet that you can then do for the rest of your life versus just a temporary solution that's not sustainable. And then a big approach with people too is just learning to recognize and respond to hunger and fullness cues, and also helping people, to balance blood sugar. So it's key to balance blood sugar levels. Eating a carbohydrate-rich food with a protein or fat-rich food, because this can steady blood sugar, which when our blood sugar drops, or it's not steady, it's too high, this can lead to changes in our mood, changes in energy level, etc. So, to sum it up, eat a variety of foods, don't cut out any foods that you enjoy, learning to recognize hunger and satiety, and then just focusing on balancing blood sugar levels.
Okay. What would be considered a healthy diet? I think we pretty much went over this.
So what would be considered a healthy diet? So a healthy diet would be, having balance. So balancing the right foods. So again, like I said, balancing blood sugar, eating the right foods to keep your blood sugar steady, but also incorporating the foods that you truly enjoy, and not restricting any type of food. But yeah, eating just a variety of carbohydrates, variety of protein, variety of fats.
Okay. What is the best advice you would give to a trauma victims out there?
The best advice I would recommend would be to be patient with ourselves, to be kind with ourselves through this journey of self-care and journey of behavior change. I always say, it took years for us to develop, some unwanted or, potentially unhealthy coping strategies. We can't expect ourselves to just change overnight. Habits aren't changed overnight. So just be patient with yourself and be patient and kind with yourself, through the entire journey.
Okay. What should people who are listening do if they want more one-on-one help with nutrition?
Absolutely. So I just want to first say I don't currently do one-on-one type of counseling. However, people can reach out to me and I can get them in touch with people that do. But the type of support I provide is, more kind of organizational programs, systems level. But I can be reached at my website, which is habitstoheal.com. So HABITS, the number 2, and then HEAL.com.
Okay. Well, I guess anything else you would like to add?
I don't. Oh shoot. I can't think of anything right now, but I do definitely appreciate you reaching out to me and this opportunity to share a little bit more about trauma and nutrition and trauma-informed nutrition care.
Okay. All right, guys. Thanks for listening. Tune in next Thursday at 10 a.m. Always follow us on your favorite social media platform or on your favorite podcast. And if you have any questions or want to reach out, always go to rachelandrecovery.com, and we've got some new resource pages up, so check those out.